So here we are planning out our next set of chores. Oh, so here we are planning out our next set of chores in the garden. So one thing I want to do is go ahead and finish planting the bottom tier of my green stalk. And even if that means I need to buy a couple of new starts. So I'm going to write that, buy new starts, because I don't want to wait for those okra and green bean starts to sprout up and be large enough for me to be able to transplant. I actually have another way I can deal with those, but we'll talk about that later. So I'm going to go this morning and buy some new starts to just go ahead and complete out that bottom tier. So there you go. If you're one of those that like to see, what else am I going to do? Start planting the second tier, or second from the bottom tier, with something. I don't know what that's gonna be. It might be, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that, because I was thinking about moving my collard greens, those collards that I have in the pots. I was thinking about moving them to out of those pots. At least that's what the coordinator suggested. And he may be right. So I'm gonna put an asterisk there in the word possible. Possible transplant the collards to second from the bottom tier. What else? What's today's date, child? I like to make sure I write the date on stuff. So today is June 7th, I believe. Okay. What else do I want to do? I want to fertilize the plants that I have. I think it's getting about time to sorry about that. Didn't mean to shake the table. Fertilize the plants again. So I'm gonna go to, as I said, I was gonna go buy some starts. So I'm gonna look at a new way of doing things. We were using this Miracle Grow plant food that's granular, but that stuff is kind of clumping up and getting old. You may have seen me sprinkle that over some of the plants whenever I was kind of dressing a new top layer of mix in the container. So I think I want to try, is it maybe 3 things that I've been seeing other gardeners do, especially when they transplant, but then they continuously do that kind of like as they, top dress. So I'm going to get a organic fertilizer or whatever. I mean, I ain't that picky, but we'll just say a powdered or a granular fertilizer that is I don't know, maybe that tomatone, I've seen that, or other ones that plant tone, I think I've seen, or it could be some of the other ones. But anyway, I think they're kind of like these mixtures of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever, but they have like what should be phosphorus, what should be nitrogen, and what should be whatever child, the elements that go into the plant. And I'll put it on the screen. But when you look at fertilizers, you have to look at the three things that you need to make sure your fertilizer has in the formulation a certain way. And I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on it. I'm getting the sundowners as I get older. So, but I'll make sure to put it in on the screen for you to see what I'm talking about. And plus, you'll see when I sort of do a haul to show you what I got. Also, bone meal. Okay, here's a quick little haul from Dollar Tree. I got this little container to mix in my dry fertilizer. Got a couple of dry measuring cups there and a scoop for this bone meal and garden tone that I mentioned to you guys earlier when I was mapping out my plan. Now, measuring cups make my daddy laugh his ass off because he's like, "Babe, what you doing with measuring cups? I'm a new gardener. I have to follow the directions. These people have directions on here for a reason." So it tickles daddy. Anyway, moving along. Here in the coordinator seat, all I could find at Ace was some old dried up chives, but it's better than nothing. Oh, I also found some parsley. They had a lot of parsley out there, but there is a superstition about parsley, and I'll tell it to you at the end of this video.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when I transplanted these, I should have added some of those fertilizers, those granulated fertilizers that I bought, but I didn't. Not because I forgot, but because I was being lazy. I'm just gonna do a little topsoil fertilizing on all of them tomorrow, so you'll see me do that then. You will see me, however, add a little bit of that formulation of the dry fertilizer to something else that I'm going to plant, which I actually showed you earlier. I ain't gonna lie, Daddy makes me nervous when he does things. Like, I am just like, what is he doing? That makes me so nervous. But he has had in-ground gardens for years and years and grown some of the most beautiful stuff. So I trusted him. But this is him when he put my very first collard in that green stalk. Now, what you gonna do?
I can't do it unless you put that back where it was.
Now, after the trauma of that contraption, let's mix together these two fertilizers. That's the garden tone. That's what I found at Ace. and I'm gonna mix it in a proportion of 3-to-1. 3 parts of that garden tone to 1 part of the bone meal. Now, I got that from a gardener on YouTube. And what I'm going to do is this. If this turns out right, I'll tell you the YouTuber's name. If my plants burn up and catch on fire, I'm not going to tell you the YouTuber's name. I honestly think it's better not to say anything, especially if you're not quite sure how it's going to turn out. But anyway, I put my first scoop in. That's the second scoop. Like I said, it's 3-to-1 according to this guy. Here's scoop number 3 coming up. Then in just about a second, I'm going to go ahead and add in that 1 scoop of bone meal. And what's happening now is I'm kind of struggling with the package, but you don't need to see all of that. Bone meal. Honey, get the scoop and go on and put it in there so you can mix it and go sit down somewhere. Because trust me, y'all, I am dirt tired from doing all this. That's the scoop. Okay, now I got to kind of shake it all up real good to make sure, you know, everything is all combined well. So I'm going to shake it all up. And then I had to go back and figure out, you know, how much to put on each plant. So that did require a little bit of math.
Okay, what is we gonna do about these? Because I'm tempted to throw them away. Daddy, on the other hand, disagrees. Anybody want to comment and tell me what I should do with these? And when I say throw them away, should I compost them?
I decided to go ahead and plant those chives in that second tier that's going to end up going on top of the collard greens we just planted. And that was also the tier that had the green bean sprout and 2 okra plants. Because remember, I told you I have another plan for those okra and green bean seeds that I started recently. Look at me adding my little concoction like I know what I'm doing. I think ultimately it came out when I did the math that it would be about 3/4 of a tablespoon worth of that mixture per plant. And since I didn't have a tablespoon, I just used a teaspoon, and I did 2 teaspoons and about a half of a third teaspoon. So that's close enough because my daddy was done with all that crazy addition, subtraction, and division I was trying to do, because he goes by how it feels like it should be. Basically, in daddy's mind, I'm already doing way too much. And this is why I say all my seasoned gardeners and all the people who have been doing this for a while, you can laugh now if you want to. It doesn't bother me because ultimately this is a learning process. It's right now, I should have probably called this YouTube channel Miss Flowers Learning Lab because I'm just trying stuff. So now here's the lore in Miss Flowers Patio Gardening lore. So you remember I mentioned that I saw parsley at Ace Hardware and I chose not to buy it. Well, there's a superstition that you cannot move parsley, because if you move parsley, someone in your family could end up becoming very ill and dying. So I'd be damned if I was going to bring that home and transplant it from one thing to the other and tempt fate. So anyway, y'all have a good day and I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.